let's talk what basic tools do you need to basically get started scrapbooking the Kiwi way. Now, if you're a veteran scrapbooker, most likely you already have these supplies on hand and you may have used them recently as well. And it won't take too much big mechanical machines. You can take these literally anywhere to a crop and you will do just fine in creating beautiful scrapbooking pages. If you are new to scrapbooking, it can be overwhelming with all of the recommendations and suggestions, and even though they are meant well, they can definitely still be overwhelming. And so really, honestly, all the basic tools that you need can fit into a basic pouch like this. This is probably an 8x5 pouch, and it's kind of like you're going back to school because all these little supplies in here is all you need to get started. So let's start off with a pair of scissors. All right, so I love my Tim Holtz pair of scissors. They have served me well. They last long. They are wonderful. I love the big handle grips so that you have that space. Now, of course, scissors are a preference. I will add that a good pair of scissors. I'm kind of an advocate for a good pair of scissors, meaning a pair of scissors that cost $10 or $15. I've seen people scrapbook and cut things with the $3 back to school, the ones that you find in the back to school bins. And I'm sure they would work fine, but you are going to feel the difference just internally and externally, meaning the confidence that you feel in your cutting definitely helps to have a good pair of scissors on hand. Now, there's these Cutter Bee ones, and these are Debbie's favorites, and I don't have the Fisker ones in front of me, but the Fisker scissors, we do actually also recommend. You're going to see them over in that link, and the reason why we do is that's actually Shiloh's favorite scissors. So everyone's a little bit different. We actually talk about test driving some scissors, but for the most part, I'll give you a little bit of a rundown. The beautiful thing about the Fisker scissors, like I said, I don't have them in front of me, is they don't have any handles and they do have a spring. So I completely understand when people are like, I really love the Fisker scissors because they do a lot of that work for you. They don't demand a lot of your hand muscles, arthritis, or if you have a tendency to have soreness in your hands, then the Fisker scissors are a good way to go. Like I said, $16, $17 investment and you will be set. I love the Tim Holtz scissors. I love the little bit of actually control that I feel in my cutting. So this shows you the difference of needs and wants. Because these ones don't feel like they're doing the work for you. You do have to work a little bit with them, but they're a very smooth cut. And also there's a little bit of a texture. So you really feel like when you're moving around curves, you have kind of a little bit of that control. And then Fiskers are just kind of more detailed oriented, but if you like the small kind of confined cuts in your experience there, then these are also great. And I know Debbie uses these, I believe, still to this day. So that is awesome. So these are just a few variations of scissors. So you can see that they do vary. And each one of them we have personally used or have had someone use. And so that's why we recommend them. I'm sure there's other wonderful scissors out there. Basically, the principle here is a good pair of scissors. So please, like I said, maybe a $15 investment is pretty average as far as a good pair of scissors. All right. Now, next in here is a pencil, a basic pencil. And if you are using like a traditional pencil in this case, you might want a pencil sharpener because that will come in handy to have. That's it. That's all it is. You can get fancy and do one of these mechanical ones, which honestly are really nice, and they're you can tell the smooth tracing that it provides, and it doesn't chip much on these mechanical ones. Or you can go even a cheaper mechanical, but I will say that these are nice to get close to the edges when you're tracing, but I do tend to break a little bit. So maybe even going up one on those is this nice brand here too. So mechanical, if you like the close touch and possibly not having to sharpen your pencil. Honestly, you see all of these, not that you need this many, but I ended up needing this many because they seem to disappear occasionally, like my Fisker scissors. I did have all three in hand, even though I do use personally, I use Tim Holtz scissors. Just like I said, I've used them and they worked, and so you don't have to fix something that works. All right, and so the next thing is ink and daubers. So we recommend this one color. This is a question we get all the time, like, do you guys ever use any other colors than this vintage photo? And the answer for me is no, I don't, but I'll tell you why. You know, when I first bought inks, when I started to scrapbook 2 decades ago, a little bit more than 2 decades ago, I didn't know any better in the sense of, like, I just was buying all these things thinking they'll help me scrapbook more effectively. And so you get into this buying rhythm. And like I said, if you're a new scrapbooker, I hope that these basic tools will be very effective for you, in the sense that you may be interested in buying a few other things, and we'll go over those here in a minute. But you'll see that you can kind of see, do I need it or don't need it? That wasn't the case when I started to first scrapbooking. I definitely was always attracted to more things, thinking I needed them, in the sense of, oh, if I get that, then I can create what I just saw that design team member make, or I can create what that designer team member made, which kind of stretched me thin, right? I wasn't completing a lot of pages because of that focus on more of the next thing instead of the next finished scrapbooking page. So with that said, ink, that's where I was going. A lot of mine that I initially had dried out, and because I had this one color and it worked, I just kind of grew past that, and I just didn't continue to buy colors. If you have them in your stash, 100% play with different inking. I love the technique of inking along the edges. That's mostly what we recommend. Whatever color you use or not use, that's totally up to you. I recommend the vintage photo because it goes with the bright color palettes, it goes with the pastel color palettes, it goes with the more warm color palettes. Like, it just kind of gives everything a nice, not grunge look, because if you ink a lot, then it will give you like a more grungy look. We just do recommend just like a soft edging to cover those blemishes and those pencil marks. And third, on top of that, is to give depth and contrast between the layers as you are adding and designing multiple layers quickly and easily with the designer templates, which is one of the beautiful things that you can accomplish to get that layer design effect on your page. And so I think no matter the color, inking in those cases will still help you in all three of those areas: blemishes, pencil line, or contrast between layers. So that's good. But if you want to minimize your decision making as far as, oh, what color is going to be best, or, you know, if you don't have multiple inks in your stash, you don't need to. This is the only one I have, guys. It is the only one. It's mind-blowing to some people, but it is literally the only one I have in my stash because it works. And so again, if it works, I'm good to go. All right. And not only works, like actually productively helps me to use the system to finish pages, okay? I love decision making sometimes. Sometimes I just like getting lost in the process, and so some of these basic little tools help me to not overthink it. And so you can, like I said, we could go on and on and on about all the tools that you could get. We're just going to talk about the basic tools that we recommend here at Kiwi Lane. The next thing is some adhesive. So adhesive for me, I use 3 variations, some type of tape runner. We've used Easy Runner. I've used it for over a decade and my pages have not fallen apart, which is awesome because there's nothing more heartbreaking. It really is when you go back to your albums and you see them kind of falling apart in the page protectors. So This is kind of why I tested and true. I like this one. I know that there's some adhesive that comes up every once in a while, like it's new and it has a good price mark, and it's like you can get like 10 rolls for X amount of price. Unless it's a brand that I've seen around for a bit or tried myself, I'm a little hesitant because I really don't want, it's not worth it to me to save $5 for my pages to fall apart. Okay, that's from my experience. So this is why I recommend these adhesives. So same thing, like even a glue stick, it'll dry out over time and it could fall apart depending on how many layers you have on your page. So I just recommend a good tape runner, okay? And if you ask any scrapbooker for how long they've been scrapbooking, they will give you all different types of recommendations. And honestly, like I said, this is the one I've used, so I reach for it. I've used the more sticky one as well, as far as the big tape runner, but that's not the one I use most often. This is the one I use most often, also because it's a little bit more forgiving but strong, meaning if I put down a layer and I don't quite position it right, I can pick it up, move it around, and not be 100% committed the moment I lay a piece of paper down to adhere it. So those are the other benefit of that. Okay. All right. Pop-up. I love pop-up. I think it's such a great thing. Anytime I see a top layer of, say, a flower or a tree branch, it doesn't matter what's on my page. If I remind myself during that scrapbooking process, oh, this is a top layer, I reach for my pop-up. And so pop-up is awesome that way. And it just, again, gives depth to your layout, but it's just so satisfying as well. There's just something so satisfying about adding that. All right, some liquid adhesive as well is really nice for little details. And sometimes when you run out of the other adhesive, I'll use liquid adhesive to even put down some of my bigger pieces. And it's really nice. If you feel really confident when you're putting it down, I'll use liquid adhesive if I'm layering down like a piece of a paper or something. So I do recommend it though for small little bits and pieces, and sometimes where you have to like get like an edge to lay flat or something, it's nice to have the liquid adhesive. Definitely make sure to put the top back on. I've dried out a few of these lovely things because, you know, you get in the middle of creating and you forgot to put the top back on. Sometimes even like just forgetting for 10 or 15 minutes can dry that top out. And so I have learned the habit to just mentally, when I use it, put the top back on. All right, so those are the basics. So you got scissors, pencil, ink, daubers. Oh, I forgot to mention daubers. We have these lovely green kiwi daubers with your little fingers, and you put them on your finger, and of course, you just daub it and then ink along the edges. There are other types of daubers. There's ones that you hold with your hand. There's some people use like makeup sponges, and there's no wrong or right on that. Personally, I actually don't have a preference either way. I do just because of habit. I put it on my finger. I know some people, it gets too close to their fingers, which sometimes you do end up with ink on your fingers. Just baby wipes or something else is a good thing to have on hand when your hands get a little dirty, whether that's from adhesive or ink. I have heard a few people when they start, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm getting more ink on my fingers than anything else. Well, yeah, you want to maybe keep something close to clean that off so you don't accidentally then smudge it on your photo. So that's another thought there. Guys, I could go on and on. I'm trying to think. Those are the basics before I move on to anything else, okay? I want to just clarify. Those are the basics. And as I was showing you before, they can literally fit into a pouch. So just imagine, right? You're sitting down to scrapbook, and whether you have a craft room or not, this is something that you can easily grab quickly and go into a living room and scrapbook. You can go over to a friend's. Now, of course, with that, you'll want to grab a paper kit, and I like to put together actual paper kits, and we have a whole paper picking method in that regard so that you can do that previously to sitting down to scrapbook, and then you'll put some photos in there. So really, it's like grabbing one of those paper kits, a few designer templates if you're choosing, and your basic tools, and you are set to go. Now, if you're also getting started in scrapbooking, you will need a paper trimmer. So a basic paper trimmer is just fine. A few years back, I did invest in this cutter pillar. It's been like 5 years, and honestly, it's getting a little flimsy now. Initially, I bought it because I didn't like where the blades were popping off of my paper trimmer. But I used a basic like $25 Fisker basic paper trimmer for 15 years of scrapbooking. So this is more heavy duty. I really don't think it's needed, in all honesty, looking back on that. But the concept is you need a paper trimmer. I do recommend a paper trimmer for straight cuts and just for like trimming down your photos and things like that. It just eases that process a little bit for you. All right, outside of that, that is the basic tools. I will go on for another few minutes here, but if this has already been so long. So other than that, you only need, other things that we recommend: a fine point black pen for writing, journaling, or other things like that. Doodling is always kind of a fun, simple technique. And a white one, same thing. And I know white ones can be a little bit, fussy. They can be a little bit temperamental. But those are the ones that I use on my pages. And of course, before I ever use them on my page, I always do like a test run on a piece of paper, and then that gets the ink basically going so that you can doodle or journal or things like that. So that's something in mind there. Again, those of you that are veteran scrapbookers have probably already learned a lot of these lessons. But these are always in my pouch as well, because that's how often I use them. So I do recommend those just because it's so simple to doodle, and yet it could be so fun, and it's just an added little touch that it doesn't take much from cost or time. I also, if you're going to talk about extra embellishments, we always say here at Kiwi Lane, like some basic, enamel dots or buttons or things like that. Now guys, I have, for whatever it's worth, lots of these hardwares that I bought back in 2008, 2009, so years and years ago, when again, the industry of scrapbooking was kind of, really pushing that kind of materials and products. And so I got into that buying frenzy, and then unfortunately it did not result in the satisfying of finishing pages. It only caused more stashing. So I am still working myself through those. I have not bought many brads or anything for years, and I'm still working through those stashes. So again, if you're a new scrapbooker, buy what you use what you buy, and buy what you use with purpose. So if there's a project that you're buying and you want some specific red buttons for something, then great, buy it, and then whatever's extra you can have on your stash. But initially you bought it with like a purpose. That's how I recommend going about it. And or sticking to basic colors. Like I have 4 girls, so I know that I'm going to scrapbook often more girly vibes and colors and things. So I would probably buy things like that, or neutral colors, whites, grays, browns, creams, those type of things that I know that I can get multiple use across a broad spectrum of projects that I might be working on. So I will leave that at this. We'll keep it out to the basics here. I could go on and on and on. I think the next thing, I just said that, but I will leave it at this one. It's just something to keep you organized. A tray, a dish, or something to put your templates in. We used to carry these. We do not carry them anymore. Check a dollar store for something along this lines, maybe 13 inches length. This is super helpful to have near you as well. Like I said, if I'm going to a crop, I grab, basically I don't forget these things, my paper trimmers. I forgot once my paper trimmer, I may do, but for the most part, and then paper, pictures, some designer templates, and you are set. You're set to create multiple beautiful, beautiful pages, and everything else on top of that, you can kind of get as you go, or if you have it in your stash again, then you're going to find when you actually start building the foundation of a page, you're going to start being like, oh, I have this. This is a good place. It anchors it. Like I can pull this button in or this sticker in, or you know what if I added a little bit of texture with a crimper, or what if I, did a photo quarter punch here, or what if I used my shape scissors to cut it out. Those things will kind of come as you evolve, whether that's through inspiration of what you already have in your stash or as a new scrapbooker, as you choose to start slowly adding to the stash of what you actually think that you'll need, whether you see it in the community from other people using it or not. So let us know if you have any questions. We're here to help. And hopefully this video has been helpful, and I will see you guys in the community. Bye now.